12.1, we will deal with section 21 and section 27 of FOIP. Other than that, seems to be everything. Could I get a motion to accept the agenda as amended?
I'll make the motion to accept the agenda.
Thank you. Motion's been made to accept the agenda as amended. All those in favor? That is carried. We'll go on to 2.1, regular council meetings of May 8th. Are there any errors or omissions?
I'd make a motion to accept the minutes of the May 8th regular council meeting as presented.
Thank you, Councillor King. Motion's been made to present the minutes as presented. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Okay, I guess we will go on to 5.3.1, planning. Welcome, Barb. Welcome, Bowen.
Good morning, Mr. Reeve, members of council. I'm bringing to you today a new policy on food truck and mobile vendor policy. This policy will guide the application and operation requirements for food trucks and other mobile vendors which would operate on Kneehill County-owned and operated parks, campgrounds, and other open space areas. Kneehill County is inviting food trucks and other mobile vendors to apply for vending permits at our popular park sites in 2018. In order to ensure some guidelines are in place, this policy notes the application procedure as well as the conditions of operation. A list of pre-approved locations are noted in the policy, and it also notes the number of units which will be permitted at each location. Specifically at Brackeneers, there would be 2, Horseshoe Canyon 4, Keevers Lake 2, Orkney 2, Swalwell Dam Campground 2, and Torrington Campground 2. Approved applicants will pay an annual fee to operate from May through September at an approved site. Other sites may be considered on a case-by-case basis, and written permission may be granted by the CAO or designate. Fees will be noted in the master rates bylaw, and they have been attached. There's a brochure attached that includes those as well. The recommended action is that council move to approve the food truck and mobile vendor policy as presented.
Are there any questions, concerns, comments?
No. So that's on private property, typically? Yeah.
So what are council's wishes?
So when it comes to the fees, Bob, you checked out local or surrounding municipalities, and these are pretty average, or where are we at?
Yes, so Bowen and his group have actually drafted and done a lot of the homework on this policy. It's just falling under planning. So they do get the credit because they have pulled a lot of this work together, and they have pulled the food truck or mobile vendor policies from quite a few jurisdictions to just kind of compare. So we are falling in the middle. It's a way to make sure that they do have health approval and that we are consistent and that they carry the insurance necessary and those types of things. So it's just not randomness. I don't know if you have anything to add.
I guess my question is, there's lots out there, there's some out there? I didn't realize the service was out there.
We've been getting quite a few requests ever since we purchased Horseshoe Canyon, so we want to ensure that we have some guidelines and some liability coverage and standards set up before we went ahead with allowing anybody out there. So,
could you clarify for me, are you approving 4 units and it's not necessarily that 4 will be on the time, or are you saying 4 units per time? There might be 12 units approved, but only 4 at a certain time on the site.
There would only be 4 approved. So if they're not there, they're not there. But I don't foresee anyone not being at Horseshoe just because it's going to have so much activity. Special events or other areas, we could up that as per the policy based on approval by CO or designates. So there could be times when there's a few more, but overall it's 4.
And the fee structure is based on amount of business potential? Is that, because I noticed that Horseshoe Canyon fee is much higher than for any of our other sites. So is that based on the likelihood of potential business?
Yes, that's correct.
Are there any other questions for planning? Or I guess your Parks and Rec today? Missed that hat.
So being this is the first time, correct? We bring this forward. Will you revisit it at the end of the season and get back to us on how it went? Like if, maybe Swallow, it's too much, $400, it didn't draw any attention, anybody interested there? Would that be possible, Bowen?
Yeah, that was kind of the idea, was to at least have something in place. And then, because we've had nothing before this brand new policy, so this will allow us to see maybe there's areas we need to increase something in the policy or rates or whatever, or decrease, take something out if it's too restrictive. So we'll weigh that out after the season, hopefully.
I'd move to approve the food truck and mobile vendor policy as presented.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Penner. We have a motion on the table to approve the policy as presented. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. We will move on to 5.3.2 subdivision extension. Barb?
Can I remove myself from this, please, because of interest's sake, from this discussion?
Okay, could we have the record or the minutes reflect Councillor Penner removing herself from this discussion?
Okay, this is regarding a subdivision extension request for subdivision KNE 160126, 127, 128, and 129. They're subdivisions relating to the divisions of land in section 22, 27, 21 for the Badlands Motorsport Resort. The attached plan notes how the lands are to be reconfigured on titles. Lands noted as 1, 2, 4, and 5 are to be consolidated into one parcel for the lower track area. Lands noted as Area A, B, and 3 are to be consolidated into the upper track. The applicants are requesting an extension to meet the conditions of their subdivision approval. These subdivisions received conditional approval on May 29th, 2017. A typical extension is granted for 1 year. In this case, the extension would expire May 29th, 2019, 1 year from the date of the current subdivision expiration. Landowners are given a year from the date of approval in which to meet the conditions of approval. If the conditions are met, the subdivision approving authority is required to endorse the subdivision to allow registration at land titles. Under section 657(4)(6) of the Municipal Government Act, permits council to extend the 1-year approval period whether or not that period has expired. Landowners or their agents may make requests for an extension of the timeframes from council. Requests for extensions to subdivision approvals can only be issued by the council of the approving authority. There have been a few setbacks in meeting the details of some of the subdivision conditions. Multi-jurisdictional oversight has also contributed to the challenge of meeting the deadline. Our recommendation is that council move to grant a 1-year extension to KNE 160126, 127, 128, and 129 until May 29th, 2019.
there any questions?
So Barb, we basically have a current development agreement with them, correct? And that goes for 1 more year?
That is correct.
So basically, all we would be doing is extending, it'll just match up the dates then, right?
That's correct. And this is not an uncommon, we do get them, I would say, a couple times, maybe a year.
Okay, well, I'd make the motion then that we grant a 1-year extension to KNE 160126, 127, 128, 129 until May 29th of 2019.
Thank you, Councillor King. Is there any discussion to the motion? Seeing as there isn't, we'll call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. I'll call, oh, there you are. Thanks, Deb. We will go on to 5.5.1, Protective Services. Welcome, Deb. Anytime you're ready. Sorry.
Okay. Good morning, Council. I present to you today a review of Policy 821, Use of Force Enforcement Tools. The Community Peace Officer Program is under the jurisdiction of the Alberta Solicitor General. 1 year ago, we compiled 22 peace officer policies into 3 policies for Level 1 officers, which we only had current Level 1 officers. However, the addition of the Level 2 peace officer, we have made some changes on the recommendations from the Office of the Alberta Solicitor General. Policy 821, Use of Force purpose is to summarize the use of force and tools available to our community peace officers in their enforcement role. Specifically in that policy, just drawing your attention to some changes. Section 2, change to OC spray, so that's for Level 1 officer use only. It just clearly defines that. And Section 5, difference in training specification. There are no costs. This is documentation only. Engagement, this is directive, informational to peace officers. A link to strategic plan, addition of Level 2 peace officer as crime prevention strategy. And the policy is attached. And the recommendation is that Council approves the changes to Policy 821, Use of Force as presented.
Does Council have any questions?
Just had a question on the post-incident guidelines where you were responding to Alberta Solicitor General, but not to the local RCMP. That would be part of the protocol, would it not? If there was an incident, wouldn't they not report right to the RCMP?
We are only assisting the local agencies. So like community peace officers, first and foremost, they have their guidelines, and then we do assist RCMP if they so request to whatever we are able to do.
I was just reading in the post-incident guidelines where the community peace officer will forward a report within 24 hours of the incident to the Alberta Solicitor General and the CAO. And I just thought, I guess by that time the RCMP would have already been contacted.
It just depends which incident. Like if it is a jurisdictional, out of jurisdictional stop, then that's a post-incident. So if it's something, it's to report, we report specifically to the Alberta Solicitor General. We don't report to the RCMP. The RCMP would have their own reporting process, and we are only there to assist. So if it is anything on an incident, it's an incident that we've been deployed to, and it's our incident.
Any other questions for Deb? Seems not, I'd entertain a motion to accept the policy as presented.
I move to approve the recommended changes to policy 821, use of force as presented.
Thank you, Councillor McGee. We have a motion on the table, or on the floor. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. And we will move on to 5.5.2. Deb, and anytime you're ready.
Thank you, Council. This is policy 822, traffic pursuit and emergency responses. The Community Peace Officer Program is under the jurisdiction of the Alberta Solicitor General, and we have acquired a level 2 peace officer, which these are changes that have come from the Alberta Solicitor General's office as per their recommendations. In policy 822, Section 1 is confirmation that level 2 officers do not enforce moving traffic. Section 5, confirmation that level 2 officers will not engage lights or sirens on a patrol vehicle unless stopped to promote safety, and that a uniform must be worn at all times while driving a patrol vehicle. And these are just, again, clarity on levels 1 and level 2 officers and their roles and duties.
Thanks, Deb. Any questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the recommended changes to policy 822, traffic pursuit and emergency responses as presented.
Motion's been made. Is there any discussion to the motion? Seeing not, I will call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. And we will move on to 6.1, Corporate Services, Linden Water Service Area. Morning, Mike.
Good morning, Mr. Reeve, members of council. 6.1 is the Linden Water Service Area Bylaw Amendment, 1758. To apply this special benefiting tax levy, $562.95 per year for 15 years, a water riser bylaw was written with a schedule of roll numbers affected. When new roll numbers are assigned due to subdivisions, this bylaw requires amending to include the new roll number and to delete the old one. This bylaw only affects those parcels of land that had a water riser installed when the water line was first constructed. If there's a change in a legal description by boundary change, which affects the legal land description and the link number, this can also affect the details of the bylaw. These changes are shown as well. The following is a subdivision that was created and affects Schedule B, roll number 3025, 3422, 000 to roll number 3025, 3424, 000, Plan 1710630, Block 1, Lot 1. And the changes are highlighted in red on Schedule B as attached to the bylaw. And again, this is just an administrative detail, no cost. The engagement, council notes and information and directive for administration, and all the attachments of previous bylaws are also attached for your information. And the recommended action would to approve bylaw 1758, replacing Schedule B of bylaw 1686 and repealing 2017 bylaw 1740. So I'll leave that with council's consideration.
Be my motion that council give first reading to bylaw 1758, that being a bylaw for the Linden Water Service Area Project, replacing Schedule B of bylaw 1686 due to subdivision activity.
Thank you, Councillor King. We have a motion's been made. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, Councillor Kiefer. Second reading, to bylaw 1758. All those in favor? I'll call the vote again. We have second reading. All those in favor of second reading? That is carried.
I'll move to give consideration to hold a third reading of bylaw 1758.
Thank you, Councillor Penner. We have consideration to hold third. All those in favor? And that is unanimous.
I'll move third reading of bylaw 1758.
Okay, Councillor Christie, third reading. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. 6.2, Mike.
Thank you, Reeve Woodstock. Item 6.2 is bylaw 1769, master rates. So administration has recognized the current master rates bylaw does not have a fee to charge for a specific development permit, class to handle food trucks and mobile vendors. And as noted, the approved policy 517 was just done through the planning department in conjunction with handling this particular fee. The planning and development department has done, and I would say also the Recs department has done some analysis work on what other counties charge for development permits for food trucks and mobile vendors. In setting the fee, they acknowledge there is a relationship between the volume of traffic to use this service and vendor and whether there is food available for sale at a given site and the fee to be charged for the permit. The proposed fees are comparable with other counties, and as noted, they're right somewhere in the middle. The fees are based on annual amounts, and those are on page 10 and 11 of 16 in the bylaw schedule. So again, noted in the schedule, Keevers Lake and Campground and Orkney Viewpoint, the respective fees for food and non-food are $500 and $350 respectively. Brackeneers, Torrington, Swalwell would be $400 for food and $250 with no food, and Horseshoe Canyon, the big one with the highest volume of traffic, potential revenue for the vendor is $1,500 for food and $1,250 for no food. There's a couple other relatively minor, the rest are relatively minor administrative changes, nothing big, significant to note, but there are a few things I'll just go through with council. On pages 14, there's a minor safety code change under other gas installations, propane tank set from $75 to $80. And that's just to go along with our safety codes fee from our vendor or from our contractor. Transportation has recommended rate increases for private laneway and snow removal services that better reflect the internal cost recovery. The rate has not changed for several years, so obviously our costs have gone up. There is also a fee structure placed in goods and services the county provides other municipalities and deleted services that no longer apply or services we no longer provide as per other transportation policies. So it's just, those would be just cleanups and with respect to the other policies that the transportation deals with in terms of providing services. In some cases that those fees would no longer be applicable. Those would be found on pages 5 and 6 of 16 in your bylaw schedule. Environmental Services has stated that most commercial users are non-residents and recommended that the bylaw should clearly reflect the fee charged for commercial usage in terms of those non-residents. So that's on page 16 of 16. And then other administrative changes and clarifications clean up on a practical level are highlighted in the red on the bylaw as well. This includes the gas installation fees in the safety code set as its own separate section from previously was contractor and own residential. And also a single family dwelling development permit for permitted uses, and that's on page 9. And that was about it. Like I said, the relatively minor changes in the bylaw.
Thanks, Mike. Are there any questions for Mr. Morton?
I would move that council give first reading to bylaw 1769, that being a bylaw to establish rates, fees, and charges of various goods, licenses, and permits and services.
Thank you, Councillor Penner. We've got a motion before us. All those in favor? That is carried.
I'd make the motion that we give second reading to bylaw 1769.
Thank you, Councillor King. All those in favor? That is carried.
I move that considerations to hold third reading be given to bylaw 1769.
Motion's been made to give consideration for third. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously.
I'll move third reading of bylaw 1769.
Thank you, Councillor Christie. We have third reading for bylaw 1769. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thanks you. Okay, we have a delegation coming at 9:15. I think we'll take a break until then. The next item is going to be a bit lengthy, so we can continue after the delegation. Thank you.